My mom defended my sister after she cheated with my boyfriend, saying, "Family is more important than holding grudges." They even invited me to her wedding to humiliate me, but I did something they never expected. I am a 30-year-old, and I find myself in a complicated situation involving my ex-boyfriend, my sister, and my parents. I know it sounds like the beginning of a disaster, and you are not wrong. I will tell you from the beginning. Jake, my 32-year-old ex-boyfriend, seemed to be everything I had ever dreamed of. When I met him, his personality was magnetic. He had that special charm, and seemed to understand me perfectly. Our relationship lasted 3 years, and during that time, I believe we shared the same level of commitment. However, now I can see the signs I chose to ignore. He always protected his phone as if it held state secrets. When I asked him why he was so cautious with his cell phone, he would simply justify it by saying it was for work-related matters. He also had a habit of disappearing for hours without explanation, and when I expressed my concern, he had a special way of making me feel guilty for doubting. I convinced myself that it was my own insecurities, especially because Jake always found the perfect words to make me feel unique when I questioned his actions. Everything came crashing down during a family gathering. My sister, Mia, who is 27 years old, insisted a lot that I attend a barbecue at our parents' house, arguing that it had been a while since I had spent time with the family. She told me it would mean a lot to her to see me there. So I agreed, although I was not very convinced. During the gathering, I noticed that Jake had been absent for a good while. While I was looking for him around the house, I opened the guest room door and found them together. It was as if the world stood still in that instant. My mind went completely blank while they tried to explain themselves stammeringly. Jake stuttered, saying that he and Mia had developed a special connection and that they could no longer deny what they felt. Mia added that they never wanted to hurt me, but that they were soulmates. That was the word they used, soulmates, to justify months of deceit and betrayal. My stomach churned. I left there furious and drove home in tears. It was a miracle that I arrived without an accident because I could barely see the road. What hurt me the most was how my family reacted when I told them what had happened. My parents downplayed the whole issue, treating it as if it were a simple teenage romance. They told me that these things just happened, that Jake and Mia had fallen in love and there was nothing more to be done. My pain seemed to be just a minor inconvenience compared to the beautiful love story they saw between Jake and Mia. I decided to cut off all communication with Jake and Mia, and I also distanced myself from my family. Over time, I rebuilt my life step by step. I focused on my work, made new friends, and found happiness again. Suddenly, one day I received something I did not expect. An invitation to Jake and Mia's wedding. It was like receiving a slap in the face. My first action was to reject it immediately. How could I sit and watch them swear eternal love to each other after what they did to me? But my parents had other plans. They began a relentless campaign of calls and messages. They even showed up unannounced at my apartment, begging me to attend. Their main argument was that my absence would generate gossip and affect the family's reputation. They insisted that it was time to get over the past and make the more mature decision. My mother even sat me down one day and told me, "We are not asking you to forgive them, just to be the more mature person in this situation. Family is more important than holding grudges." I must admit that her words affected me. Although I barely kept in touch with my parents, I did not want to cut ties definitively. I thought that attending the wedding could be a way to show that I had healed and moved on. I did not have to give the impression of being bitter when I really was not. I decided that I could maintain my distance from the family without needing to seem weak. So I told them I would attend the wedding. I thought that with that decision everything would end. But then Mia started sending me messages constantly. Most were to brag about how she had or how Jake had always preferred her. At first, I ignored them, but there were some messages in particular that caught my attention. Mia, apparently under the influence of alcohol, complained about the pressure Jake's parents were putting on them. They needed to prove they were worthy of inheriting the family fortune, and she boasted about how their wedding was going to secure their position with Jake's parents. Suddenly, it all made sense. They were not just building a life together, they were securing their future inheritance. This revelation made me see their wedding from another perspective. I was no longer just the ex-girlfriend hurt by a betrayal. I had information that could expose their hypocrisy, but I did not want to act out of revenge. I was looking to close this chapter of my life, not seek revenge. On the day of the wedding, I confessed that part of me wanted to turn around and leave. Everything looked beautiful and people seemed happy, but to me it felt artificial. I sat in my place trying to go unnoticed, but my parents approached me asking me to give a speech. They said it would mean a lot to Mia if I showed my support in front of everyone. I wanted to refuse because it seemed too humiliating, but faced with my mother's insistence and my father's irritated tone, I ended up giving in. I knew they just wanted to keep up appearances and protect the family's reputation. It hurt me that they asked me to feign support for those who had hurt me so much, but once again, I accepted out of obligation and a sense of guilt. As I stood in front of all the guests, I felt a mixture of anger and pain. I was about to give a generic and emotionless speech when I experienced a moment of absolute clarity. I began by talking about love and how it can arise in unexpected ways. I mentioned the importance of honesty and trust in relationships. Then, I shared my own story. I told everyone about my relationship with Jake, how I had believed he was my future, and how that future vanished because of the betrayal of someone I trusted completely. I described the moment I discovered Jake and Mia together and the pain it caused me, but I did not stop there. I explained that although their betrayal had shattered me, it also taught me valuable lessons about resilience and self-love. I addressed Jake's parents directly, thanking them for their kindness during the time I was with him. I expressed my gratitude for their support in those moments and mentioned that I hoped they knew the whole truth about the decisions Jake and Mia had made. I maintained a calm and measured tone throughout the speech, letting the truth speak for itself. When I finished speaking, the silence in the room was deafening. Jake's parents were visibly furious and left almost immediately. I knew my words had touched a sensitive spot. The rest of the celebration turned into chaos. Mia approached me screaming that I had ruined her special day. Jake tried to calm her down, but she was still out of control. My parents were mortified, but I felt liberated. I felt like I could finally close this chapter. Days later, I learned from a mutual acquaintance that Jake's parents were considering disinheriting him after my speech. Apparently, they said they could not support someone who had acted so dishonorably. The perfect future that Mia and Jake had planned might have vanished in an instant, and they blame me for it. Mia has been sending me messages accusing me of ruining her life. She calls me selfish, petty, and vengeful, but I have decided not to respond. I do not regret what I did. The truth needed to come out, and if that causes them problems, it is a consequence of their own actions. It has been a week, and Mia continues to send me messages about what a terrible person I am. It is starting to affect me, and I wonder if I am really the bad one for having exposed the truth about their relationship during their wedding. Update 1. Hello everyone. My post received much more attention than I imagined. Thank you to everyone who responded and helped me see this situation from different angles. I feel I should explain why I decided to go to the wedding when I could have avoided it completely and stayed away from my family for even suggesting I attend. When I agreed to go to the wedding, I did it because I wanted to show my family that I was not that bitter and resentful person they thought I was. I went because I needed to close that chapter and, being honest, I also wanted to prove to myself that I was stronger than the pain they had caused. Although, if I am being completely honest, a part of me wanted to make a statement. I had been humiliated and I felt that no one had truly understood how much the betrayal of Jake and Mia, two of the people I trusted most, had hurt me. Looking back, I can recognize that my speech had some malice to it. It was not just about telling the truth, I also wanted Jake and Mia to feel the weight of what they had done to me. But I do not regret it. During my suffering, no one defended me, no one told Jake and Mia they were wrong. My family covered it all up, and Jake's parents, although they were kind to me while I was dating him, never intervened to hold them accountable. So no, I do not regret what I said. For the first time, I was able to tell my side of the story. The consequences after the wedding were immediate. Jake's parents were furious and, as I have been told by mutual acquaintances, they had always prided themselves on being a respectable family. When they heard how the relationship between Jake and Mia had begun, they felt deeply ashamed. Jake's mother was particularly upset. She believed Jake had lied to her about when his relationship with me ended and when it began with Mia. They could not even consider leaving their inheritance to someone who, from their point of view, lacked morals and integrity. It was not just because of my speech, it was because of Jake's pattern of dishonesty and the shame he had brought to their family's name. So they cut him and Mia off completely. I found out about Jake and Mia's financial problems a few weeks later, when a mutual friend told me what was happening. Apparently, without the financial backing of Jake's parents, they were having trouble maintaining the luxurious lifestyle they had planned. The wedding alone had been a huge expense and they were counting on the inheritance to cover it. Now, without that financial safety net, they were desperate. Mia was especially devastated. She had always dreamed of living a comfortable and well-off life, and now she was trapped trying to figure out how to handle her growing debts. Then her messages began. At first they were furious and full of accusations. She blamed me entirely for their situation, saying I had destroyed their future and turned Jake's parents against them. She called me selfish and vengeful, saying I had ruined their happiness out of spite. Then, her tone changed and she began to demand that I publicly apologize to Jake's parents. She wanted me to tell them that I had exaggerated the situation and misrepresented their relationship in my speech. Mia even suggested that I should beg Jake's parents to reconsider their decision to cut them off. Her demands were outrageous. She wanted me to humiliate myself again just to fix a situation that she and Jake had created. It was almost ridiculous. After everything they had done to me, after the betrayal and the pain they caused me, she had the nerve to ask me to clean up their mess. I flatly refused and told her that I was not responsible for their decisions or their consequences. If Jake's parents had decided to cut them off, it was not because of my speech, it was because of their own actions. They had built their relationship on lies and betrayal, and now they were facing the consequences of those decisions. It was not my job to save them. I did not respond to any more messages from Mia after that. I blocked her and moved on. For years I had carried the weight of what they had done to me, but now I felt like I had finally let it go. Their problems were their own, and I had no interest in getting involved. For the first time in a long time, I feel at peace. It has been a week since I blocked Mia, and honestly, it feels great. No one else has contacted me since then, and I hope I am not tempting fate by saying this. Anyway, I have many more things in life to focus on than unnecessary drama, so I am going to do my best to stay out of it. If I get dragged into this again, I will let you know. Until then, goodbye. Update 2. Okay, I admit I tempted fate in my last update. I know, rookie mistake. But it has been a few weeks since I last updated, and enough has happened to share with you all. Here we go. After blocking Mia and deciding to move on, I thought the drama was over. But of course, my family could not just let it go. A week and a half after ignoring Mia's demands, my parents contacted me and insisted that we all meet to fix things. According to them, my speech had created an unnecessary division in the family, and it was my responsibility to fix it. They were upset because Mia and Jake were going through difficulties and they felt I should take responsibility for what they considered my part in their problems. The situation became so tense that I decided to clear things up once and for all by meeting with them. We agreed to meet at our local coffee shop, and during the meeting, my parents portrayed me as a petty and vengeful person. They accused me of holding a grudge and said that my speech at the wedding had been unnecessary. They kept repeating that I needed to be the more mature person and show some sense. They reminded me that family comes first and that Mia was my sister, no matter what had happened in the past. To them, my actions had not only hurt Jake and Mia, they claimed I had embarrassed the entire family. They insisted that I contact Jake's parents and apologize for escalating things. Believing this could help improve the situation for Mia and Jake. Their arguments did not surprise me, but they still hurt. They continued to ignore what Jake and Mia had done to me. They acted as if I should just forget it, because time heals all wounds. They never acknowledged how much pain their betrayal had caused me. Instead, they focused on how my actions had made things worse for Mia. Everything revolved around Mia's future, Mia's happiness, Mia's relationship. Once again, I felt like my feelings did not matter. Since no one was defending me or even considering my feelings, I knew I had to stand firm, and that is exactly what I did. I told them I was not going to apologize for telling the truth. I reminded them that Mia and Jake's relationship had started with a betrayal, and if they were now facing consequences, it was not my fault. I pointed out how they had never held Mia accountable for what she did to me, and how they always expected me to be the one to give in. I told them I was tired of being the one to clean up other people's messes. If Mia and Jake had problems, it was their responsibility to solve them, not mine. My parents tried to reason with me, saying that Mia, Jake, and I were young, and that these things happened at that age, but I did not agree with any of that. I got so frustrated with them that at one point I got up and stormed out of the coffee shop. I also turned off my phone because I did not want to hear anything more from them. But even though I was so sure of my position, I started to feel guilty. I mean, I know I did not do anything wrong here. Many of you pointed that out and also told me I needed to stop feeling guilty about things, and believe me, I am working on it. But I do not know what happened that day. My parents' words kept echoing in my mind. They made me feel like I was being ruthless, like maybe I had gone too far with my speech. I started to wonder if there was more to the story with Jake's parents. Had my speech really been the reason they disinherited him, or was there something else I did not know? Curiosity and guilt got the better of me, so I decided to contact Jake's parents. I wanted to hear their side of the story directly. When I contacted them, Jake's parents, surprisingly, were willing to talk to me. They told me they had been upset with Jake long before the wedding, but they had not acted until my speech gave them clarity. They explained that Jake had lied to them about several things during our relationship. For example, he had exaggerated his professional achievements and pretended to be financially independent when in reality, he depended on them to support himself. They had suspected his behavior for a while, but they did not want to confront him without solid proof. My speech at the wedding was the breaking point. It confirmed what they had been suspecting all along. That Jake was dishonest and manipulative. They told me they had been particularly disappointed by how Jake and Mia's relationship began, as it showed a complete lack of integrity. Jake's mother said they felt betrayed because they had trusted him to be better than that. My speech did not make them cut Jake off. It simply validated the concerns they already had. They made it clear that their decision was based on years of observing Jake's behavior, not just the revelations at the wedding. They also expressed gratitude for my honesty. They said they admired how I had handled myself at the wedding, even though it must have been a difficult situation for me. Hearing that felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. For a long time, I had felt that no one understood how much Jake and Mia's betrayal had hurt me. Knowing that Jake's parents saw the truth and valued my perspective made me feel validated in a way my own family never had. After that conversation, I felt calmer. I realized that my speech was not the main cause of Jake and Mia's problems. Their difficulties were the result of their own decisions and actions, not mine. I have carried so much guilt over the years, but now I see that I did nothing wrong by defending myself. If anything, I gave Jake's parents the clarity they needed to make a decision they had been avoiding for too long. My family, of course, did not see it that way. They continued to pressure me to fix things, but I have stopped letting their opinions affect me. I have spent enough time feeling guilty for things that are not my responsibility. Jake and Mia's situation is something they need to handle, and I have no intention of getting involved anymore. For the first time, I am putting myself first. That is all for this update. I also blocked my parents everywhere and I am going to keep my distance from them until... well, I do not know. I do not want to think about that right now either. At this moment, I am just going to focus on myself and move on. If anything happens, I will come here and let you know. Thank you for all the advice and support. You have no idea how much it means to me. Update 3: Once a cheater, always a cheater, is a lesson I learned the hard way and it is one I will never forget. It has been 4 months since my last update and for 3 of those months, things have been wonderfully quiet. Mia and my parents stopped communicating. They finally accepted that I was not going to be the peacemaker or fix the mess that Mia and Jake had made of their lives. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I felt at peace. I was not consumed by guilt or anger and I could finally focus on myself and my happiness. But of course, nothing stays quiet forever. At the beginning of this month, I received a text message from an unknown number. It did not take me long to realize it was Mia. She wasted no time in informing me that she had annulled her marriage to Jake. She said she could not go on like this and felt that I deserved to know. I did not reply. I had already made it clear that I did not want her in my life and I was not going to reopen that door. But Mia was not finished. Over the next few days, she sent a flood of messages, gradually revealing what had led her to make the decision to leave Jake. According to Mia, the financial difficulties they had faced after Jake was disinherited had taken a huge toll on their marriage. Jake, who had always depended on his parents' money, could not handle the pressure of living on a tight budget. Instead of working on their problems, he started to be unfaithful. And not just with one woman. Mia told me that she had discovered that Jake had cheated on her with several women, including 2 of her bridesmaids. Although I never replied, I guess she knew I was reading the messages because I have read receipts turned on. Mia explained how she found out everything. She said she started to notice that Jake's behavior was becoming stranger. He would stay out late, make up flimsy excuses for his absences, and was very secretive with his phone. At first, she ignored it, thinking it was just the stress getting to him. But one night she received a message from one of her bridesmaids, confessing she had had a brief affair with Jake. The bridesmaid told her she had not known how to tell her before, but she felt guilty for keeping it a secret. That confession blew everything open. Mia confronted Jake, who at first denied everything, but eventually admitted that he had been unfaithful, not only with the bridesmaid who confessed, but also with another bridesmaid and a few other women. As I read Mia's messages, I felt different emotions. A part of me felt vindicated. Jake had finally shown Mia his true colors, and she was experiencing the same betrayal I had suffered years ago. It felt like karma had completed its cycle. At the same time, I could not help but feel some pity for her. I knew how devastating it was to be cheated on, to have the person you trusted most completely shatter your world. But that pity did not last long. Mia may have been betrayed by Jake, but she had betrayed me first. She had made her choices, and now she was facing the consequences. Mia did not just tell me what had happened. She started asking me for advice. She asked me how I had managed to move on after Jake cheated on me, because she did not know how to handle the betrayal. She kept trying to create a connection with me, saying that we had both been hurt by the same man, and that we should support each other. But what stood out to me the most was what she did not say. Not once in all her messages did she apologize for what she had done to me. She never acknowledged the pain she had caused me by betraying me with Jake. Instead, she acted as if we were in the same situation, as if her suffering somehow erased the past. I did not reply to any of her messages. I had already dedicated more time and energy to her than she deserved. After a few days of constant messages, I blocked her again. This time, I did not feel guilt. If anything, I felt relieved. Relieved that I did not have to deal with her anymore, and relieved that karma had finally done its work. Jake had shown Mia exactly who he was, and she had no one but herself to blame for ignoring all the warning signs. As far as I am concerned, she is reaping what she sowed. Looking back, I do not regret how I handled the situation at the wedding or in the months that followed. Telling the truth was not an act of malice. It was necessary. Jake and Mia's relationship was built on lies and betrayal, and it was only a matter of time before it all came crashing down. I have spent too much of my life trying to please people who do not deserve my kindness, and I am done with that. For the first time in years, I am focusing on myself and my happiness, and it feels incredible. I have learned that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and let karma take care of the rest. So, that is it for me. I am finally going to move on and leave all this behind. It is sad that I have lost my family in all this, but I have been thinking and I think it is time for me to go to therapy. I mean, I need to sort all this out properly because I feel there are many emotions I am avoiding facing right now.